Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at 3 more of those PNSO minifigures from that gigantic box full of awesomeness that I got about a week ago or so, somewhere around that range of time. But regardless, today we are going to take a look at Costa the Miragaia, Rahba the Tuojiangosaurus, and Sethi the Kentrosaurus. And yeah, let's go ahead and get a closer look at the package and then we'll open them up. So here you can see the Miragaia in its natural habitat. Very, very cool looking. Love the fact that they include that picture in the background with them in their natural habitat, as I mentioned. And again, there's the Tuojiangosaurus in its natural habitat. Looks absolutely awesome. And then, of course, the Kentrosaurus. Very nice marshland looking area. So beautiful, beautiful packaging as always. Now let's get them open. So here they are, all 3 of them out of the packaging, and as you can see, they all look awesome. And of course, we get the booklets with, of course, the background there for the habitat. There is the absolutely amazing artwork that is included with these dinosaur figures. Of course, there's the Miragaia's background there, and wow, that is just so beautiful. Absolutely magnificent. And the Tuojiangosaurus. So nice. So nice. I really like the color scheme of this, actually. But, of course, we are here to actually look... Oh, I knocked him over. We are, of course, here to actually look at the minifigures themselves, so let's get a closer look. Now we are starting with the Kentrosaurus, which I think actually might be my favorite of the new group here of these 3. But you can see that the head sculpt is really quite fantastic. Really beautiful looking. You can see the mouth is very nicely sculpted out there. The eye has a yellow coloration around it, but it has the black eye. So I think that yellow coloration is basically just to elaborate the eye. Yes, you can see it over here, same way. Looks very nice. Really beautifully done. As we come down the neck, you can see very nice sculpt work here on the neck. The plates start to pick up here on the top. Very, very nice brown coloration. As the dinosaur is primarily a green, but it's a few different shades of green, which is again something that I'm always very impressed with when it comes to these minifigures, is the amount of coloration that they can jam into one little figure, and they do it in such a great, very naturalistic looking way. We of course see the side spike here sticking out, as that's something that Kentrosaurus is really well known for. And I really do love the fact that they made it a reddish color just because it looks so cool and gives it that little extra bit of a striking look, and I think that is just awesome. They look like they're painted pretty well. Again, the plates up here on the back are really painted quite nicely as well. You can see as we run the length of the side here, very nice sculpt work in the stomach region. As I turn it, you can actually see the rib cage a little bit there, and that is really impressive to be able to find that kind of detail on something that is this small. You can see quite a few osteoderms all over the body there. And we get to the front leg here. We take a look at that leg. The foot looks very, very nice. Beautiful wrinkles of the skin and folding of the skin where it would be folding as the leg is bent in that position. We also get a little bit of skin folds here on the underside of the stomach. Going back here, you can see the hip bone here. Nicely elaborated. Very nice musculature. And the scaling here in this back leg is really beautifully done. I think that looks very, very nice. The feet look like they are sculpted really quite nicely as well. Very beautifully done. And then we come up here into the tail. The tail looks excellent. Again, those osteoderms run the length of the tail. And we've got all the spikes and plates and everything up here in the back that we should. And they are really sculpted nicely. Look at the detail just in the plates and stuff alone. Really quite impressive for something as small as this. Taking a look at the opposite side now. I really love the way that the skin is creased here in the neck as the dinosaur is looking to its left. You see not so many on this side because it's pulling the skin, kind of stretching it, but here it's wrinkling it up as it bunches the skin together, making that left-looking turn. Looks very realistic. Again, that beautiful side spike that's nice and red. The plates are, of course, nicely painted and sculpted on this side as well. And the body is primarily a green, like I mentioned, but it has almost a khaki underbelly, and the green actually is a few different shades in different areas of different types of greens. It has a few black spots here and there, and of course the plates are brown, but again there are also a few different shades of brown included on the plates themselves. Again, just giving the appearance of different tones of skin color, which is really a realistic thing to do, and it makes it look quite beautiful. Looking down here, you can see that the front left leg here is pulling up into the body as it's taking a step, kind of mushing the skin all together here in the stomach, bunching it all up, which looks very realistic the way they've sculpted that again as well. Bunching the skin up into the stomach, just really pushing it there. Very nice attention to detail. Hip bone is really nicely elaborated here on the back of this leg as well. And again, the stomach is being pushed up because this leg here on the left rear leg is also pushing forward into the stomach. So they've really done a very good job of capturing the motion of the dinosaur right there with the way they've sculpted it out. Very beautifully done. And then we come back the length of the leg here. Very nice skin folds and creases and stuff. And the way the tail is slightly bent there looks very nice. And then we come back the length of the tail. You can see lots of little creases and stuff of the skin. Very, very nice looking detail. Those osteoderms that run the length of the tail. And then, of course, the spikes on the end of the tail. Very, very nice Kentrosaurus. Really a beautiful figure, and possibly one of my favorite that I've gotten from these PNSO minifigures so far, as I am a big Kentrosaurus fan, and this whole figure is very appealing to me overall. I think the paint scheme is very natural looking, and a potentially realistic looking color scheme, so I really, really like this figure. Then we have the Miragaia, and again, I may not say that name perfectly correct. I am not too familiar with this dinosaur. I know that there have been a few figures of it out, and I have purchased those as well from other companies, but this one actually is really, really beautifully done, and honestly may be my favorite out of all the figures of this dinosaur that I own, just because the sculpt is just so striking and beautiful. And one thing that a lot of other companies, I feel like they really tend to screw up on, is the head sculpt. I think the head sculpt on a lot of them ends up looking awfully weird, and if I could get this to focus, there we go. Now you can see just how really nicely done the head sculpt of this is. It looks beautiful, really, really nice. Beautifully painted eye there. You can even see a slight different shade of color around the eye. The mouth is really nicely sculpted, beautifully done. Head sculpt everywhere is really beautiful. Look at that detail, even on the underside of the head. Wow, in the throat area, that is really beautiful. For something as small as this is, it's really quite incredible. Again, the mouth is sculpted really nicely. Beautiful painted eye, no sloppiness. As we start to come down the length of the neck, you can see all sorts of skin creases and stuff. And the plates, of course, start to pick up. We get down into the shoulder area. That is really nicely sculpted. The whole shoulder blade area just looks fantastic, and you can see some really beautiful musculature here in this front leg. And I really, really love the way the stomach detail has been sculpted out. Look at the way the skin looks. It just really looks like a large animal, the way the skin looks. Kind of reminds me of what you would see on like an elephant or a rhino, like the way the skin has just all these creases and just looks very big and bulky. So beautiful job done there. The sculpt work is really incredible. Coming down here into the feet, you can see the feet look very, very nice. The leg sculpts overall look beautiful. Like I mentioned, that very nice musculature of the legs. And then coming back here to this back rear leg, again, beautiful sculpt work. You can see the hip bone up there is really nicely elaborated. Really nice musculature as well. You can even see the kneecap sculpted out there. And I didn't really mention the side spikes, but they're very nicely colored. They look beautiful. They're sculpted really nicely as well. Coming back here to the tail, again, you don't see quite as many skin creases on this side here because the tail is pulling a little bit to the right, but it looks very, very nice. Lots of creases in the skin and everything. Really, really nice skin detail. And the spikes here run the whole length of the tail, and it looks absolutely awesome. The actual plates up here in the back, again, just like the Kentrosaurus, have incredible amounts of sculpt and detail in them for being super tiny, so really, really impressive stuff. Now taking a look at this side, again, those beautiful plates start up here on the top of the neck, and the skin detail of the neck looks really nice, all kinds of creases of the skin and everything. And we get down here to this front leg, very muscular, really a very muscular leg. It's quite impressive how muscular looking that is. This dinosaur is definitely in really good shape. And then of course the foot looks very nice as well. Beautiful detailing of the skin here. It doesn't quite look like it's as bunched up as the other side because these legs are spread apart, and you can see that the skin is being pulled, especially right here at the rear leg, right in that general area. And then of course in the front leg right there, you just see the way the skin is being pulled away from the body. Beautiful attention to detail. And then again, the hip bone back here on the leg. Beautiful musculature. There's that knee again, like on the other side. Very nicely sculpted foot. Then we come back here to the tail, and as I mentioned, because the tail is scrunched up a little bit here, you can see some of the creases being a little more visible than on the opposing side, since the tail is bent here a little bit to the right, and you can see that right there shining through with the way the sculpt has been done. So another really nice figure. I like the overall paint job on this one as well. So many different tones, once again, of coloration all over the body. All sorts of different colors have been included, all variations of greens and browns, and even like a reddish brown up here on the plates and spikes. So it really looks beautiful and very natural. I absolutely love it. And then the final one here, the Tuojiangosaurus, is yet another really nice figure. Starting up here at the head, you can see again it has that very nice yellow coloration around the eye to really elaborate the eye, and then of course the black eye itself. Not any kind of sloppiness is not included. It's very beautifully done, very nicely done. Again, you can see the mouth is sculpted really nicely. You can even take notice of the beak there a little bit, the front of the head. Beautiful on both sides. Again, no sloppiness in that eye area. It really looks beautiful. And then we start to see the plates form up here on the back. The plates in this one are more of a gold coloration, but it actually looks really quite nice. The detailing of the skin looks good. You can kind of get an idea of the skin being bunched up here in the neck because the dinosaur is looking to its right. You can actually, now that I just noticed it, you can see the nostrils up there, right by the beak as well. Impressive, considering the size. To get nostrils that are visible as something this small, you'd probably just notice a little dot there, but it really looks quite nice. And then the leg looks beautiful. Again, lots of creases in the skin. The overall skin detail looks really beautifully done. All sorts of variation of color you can see included. Feet look very nicely sculpted. The side spike of this one as well, really nicely done on both sides. Looks beautiful. Very nice stomach sculpt here. The detail and everything looks really nice, very similar to the Miragaia, with the way that it looks it kind of resembles a very large animal the way it should. Beautiful detail on the rear leg. That's very nice looking sculpt work, the way the leg looks. Again, looking very similar to a very large animal like an elephant or a rhinoceros. Beautifully done with the sculpting, and you can see the rear leg here sticking up into the stomach, pushing the skin up a little bit. Again, you can see the skin very realistically reacting to that. So beautiful attention to detail, again, by PNSO as always. You can see the musculature of the legs very nice as well. Beautiful, huge calf muscle there. Feet are sculpted really nicely. Coming up here under the tail, you can see that very nice sculpt work again in the tail. And we run out the tail to the spikes here in the back, which are very beautifully and very realistically painted as well. Taking again a look at the opposing side, you can see some less creases of the skin as the neck is turning to the right, kind of pulling the skin here on this side. Coming back here to the beautiful side spikes, very nicely painted. A very realistic looking coloration in my opinion. And they almost kind of appear to have a little bit of a gloss to them to really make them just look a little bit more realistic. Beautifully done. And the front leg looks very nice. Again, stomach detail, very similar stomach detail to the Miragaia because it looks very real and very large animal looking. Beautifully done. It's definitely a well-fed dinosaur. You can see its stomach kind of sagging a little as it's quite a beefy dinosaur. And back here to the leg, you can see the hip bone here. Beautiful musculature again as we run down the length of the leg. Very nicely sculpted foot. And then coming up into the tail, lots of skin creases and stuff. Beautiful skin detail as we run out the length of the tail. Back to those beautiful spikes yet again. And once again, the plates are sculpted beautifully. All sorts of detail included. The overall paint scheme is just this kind of a greenish coloration with some stripes that run the length of it, almost like a creamy type of a stripe. But again, it looks very nice, and again, a very potentially realistic color scheme. Here, as always, done by PNSO, and it looks fantastic. You can also see another thing that is very cool about not only this one, but a lot of the dinosaurs is that they included a wash to really kind of bring out the detail, a very dark wash. Where all the creases are, it's very dark, and it just kind of gives you that feeling like it's a very large, realistic looking animal. So, beautifully done. As far as a size goes on the Tuojiangosaurus, from the tail to the head, you were looking at about a little over 3 inches, almost about 3 1/8, and then about, almost actually on the dot for about 8 centimeters. As far as the height goes, it's pretty small, so you're only looking at about 1.5 inches or about 4 centimeters. The Miragaia looks a little longer actually, so yeah, there you go, about 3.5 inches for that one, or about 9 centimeters in the general area. And for a height, you're looking at about 1.5 inches or about 4 centimeters. And on the Kentrosaurus, from the head to the tail, a little bit over 3 inches, or about 8 centimeters for a length. And for a height, the highest point is probably about 1.5 inches, maybe close to 1.75 inches, or around 4 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. And as always, for a size comparison, there is Mr. Paporex, as always, completely dwarfing these minis. So once again, you see the close-up, you can see just how much detail is included, but then when you get a wide shot here with the Paporex, you can really get an idea of the sheer size of these very small minifigures, really showing you how they can fit really well into any collection, but also showing you just how impressive it is to get the kind of paint application that they have and the beautiful sculpt work included on something that is that small. So I am a huge fan of Stegosaurus and any of its relatives, so I was quite interested in these figures, and as always with PNSO, when you get them in person and see them up close and personal, they never cease to impress. These 3 figures are all very beautifully detailed, all in different poses, but all very nicely done. They really look exactly as they should. The detail is done extremely well. Again, the detailing that you get on these little models is the type of thing that you would get on a very large scale model, so it's always super impressive to me the way that PNSO can get this kind of detail crammed into something so small. Really beautiful and really impressive on their part. The paint schemes are all very realistic looking, and they're all done very naturally. They all really look like body color and not paint. It looks like the skin color of the animal, and that is always a thing that is very impressive to me. As any company, if you can fool me into thinking that's the way that the animal is colored, you get an A+ in my book. So without question, PNSO's minifigures are the best minifigures on the planet. There is just no better than these. They all look fantastic, and as always, they find obscure species that you just don't see getting regular large-scale figures very often, and making them here in mini form, which is just beyond words awesome, in my opinion. I love the fact that they just have so many different species, and as I mentioned, so many obscure species. And these 3 right here are fairly obscure species. Kentrosaurus, maybe not quite as much, but the other 2 for sure. And even Kentrosaurus really hasn't gotten its due as far as figures go. They don't get too many figures out there. But if I had to pick a favorite out of these 3, I'd probably say the Kentrosaurus, just because I am a huge Kentrosaurus fan. But all 3 are just absolutely jaw-dropping fantastic. So if you do want to order these, I will throw links in the description to each and every one of these on the Amazon PNSO store, and I will throw a link to the entire box, which, trust me when I tell you, is a great deal if you want to order all of these figures at once. So go ahead, click those links, order these dinosaurs, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.